The Ontario College of Psychologists is a perfect example of what society has become today, almost like an endless stream of cult like behavior that you'd only find in a movie. What else is there to say other than I'm not really surprised? You speak out, you get taken out. That's 2023 for you. Enjoy the video.
Okay, meanwhile, speaking of censorship, Jordan Peterson is now under fire by apparently members of the College of Psychologists of Ontario. What exactly did Jordan do? Obviously, Jordan Peterson, full disclosure, is a host at Daily Wire Plus. Jordan blasted Canada's commissars and penned a scathing letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau Tuesday after a leading association of his fellow psychologists threatened to go after his license to practice clinical psychology over social media criticisms of the nation's far-left government. The College of Psychologists of Ontario ordered the best-selling author and Daily Wire Plus host to undergo social media communications retraining, the ReEducation plan, or face a hearing on the potential suspension of his medical license. Writing to Justin Trudeau, Peterson vowed not to participate. He said, quote, I simply cannot resign myself to the fact that in my lifetime, I am required to resort to a public letter to the leader of my country to point out that political criticism has now become such a crime in Canada that if professionals dare engage in such activity, government-appointed commissars will threaten their livelihood and present them with the spectacle of denouncement and political disgrace. There is simply and utterly no excuse whatsoever for such a state of affairs in a free country. This, of course, is just the latest of several investigations launched by the College of Psychology, with prior complaints having been dismissed. What exactly did Jordan do that was so terrible that now he is being investigated by this ridiculous organization, the College of Psychologists of Ontario? What exactly did he do? Well, he retweeted Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre. I'm going to screw up his name, but so be it. Blasted Trudeau's former senior aide, Gerald Butts, and he blasted New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, tweeting opposition to a plan by Ottawa police to take custody of the children of trucker convoy protesters. He also told Joe Rogan's podcast audience that accepting radical gender theory is a sign of civilization collapsing, and also said that climate change models are unreliable. So apparently, this is enough for the college executive director to review the tweets and a transcript from Peterson's appearance on Joe Rogan and determine that this warranted an investigation. The probe has now been expanded to include subsequent social media posts by Peterson, including a May Twitter post in which he said that Sports Illustrated putting plus-size swimsuit model Yumi Nu on the cover was not an example of beauty. All Jordan wrote at that point, you remember this big controversy, he wrote, sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that. He also tweeted that the movie star Ellen Page, who now goes by Elliot Page, is actually a woman. This particular college, by the way, it sounds like a private organization. In Canada, that's not the way that it works. The college is a government-regulated association that regulates and has the authority to sanction psychologists ostensibly to protect the health and safety of workers and the public. Peterson charged that the Ontario Professional Organization has been hounding him since 2017. He said, I was never investigated for anything for the 20 years I practiced prior to my emergence on the public scene. But because the college is obligated to probe any written complaint filed against a member, Peterson says that he's been buffeted with investigations, many of which were prompted by anonymous calls. One accused him of being transphobic, sexist, and racist for pointing out an article from Crisis Magazine accusing the transgender movement of targeting autistic children. Last year, Peterson was taken to task by the college after telling a scientist who said overpopulation was a threat to the planet that he was free to leave at any point. The college opened an investigation, and Jordan declined to cooperate. He said at the time, take whatever steps you deem necessary. I'm simply not going to spend the hours and days required to undergo the unbelievably stressful process necessary to respond to this formally, because one of the millions of people who follow me on social media took offense to one thing I said at one point. Now, again, one of the reasons that they are targeting Jordan is to shut everybody else up. Jordan has a big enough platform that it's very unlikely that he's going to end up being banned from the practice of psychology in Canada by the College of Psychologists of Ontario. But the whole point is to shut everybody else up. The people have less of a platform than Jordan. And this is the point on Twitter as well. It's to intimidate people into silence. You ban a few accounts, and then you get everybody else to shut up. This is the goal of the censorship regime. Free speech is the predicate to having an open conversation on any of these important issues. And given the amount that the experts have used their authoritarian power to silence actual useful conversation, it is truly scary that you now have commissars in supposedly Western countries like Canada. This is happening in the UK as well, cracking down on free speech. You remember that case just a couple of weeks ago from before the new year, in which a woman in the UK was arrested for silently praying outside of an abortion clinic, literally just standing there. And they asked if she was praying, and she said, maybe in my head, and they arrested her for that. The Western civilization cannot abide the authoritarians who now have decided that because they are the elite, they get to control not only how you act and what you do, but also what you see, what you watch, how you think. This is truly scary stuff. Whether it is being laundered through private companies like Twitter or whether it's being done directly by governments like the government in Canada. And good for Jordan for standing up to it. I'm glad Jordan does this sort of stuff because, frankly, if Jordan didn't do it, who else would be left to stand up against this sort of stuff? Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is.
To be honest with you, this poisonous ideology is only going to get worse and worse. It almost feels doomed. We need some good news, man. Anyway, see you tomorrow.